Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Star Wars issue 41 by Charles Soule and Madabak Musabekov. Lando's ill-fated rescue mission to free his friend Lobot from the clutches of the Scourge comes to an end as the rebels assault Epiconia. Despite the tie-ins being largely unconnected to the actual Dark Droids book, this one actually hinges on the final issue of the event where the Scourge is defeated, as the rebels fight off the droids and it ends up going badly for them as the Scourge finally manages to possess a human body, taking over all of the rebels, but it never goes beyond that as the Scourge is killed by Ajax Sigma as seen in Dark Droids issue 5, thus ending the possession. I've said in the past that I didn't like the disconnected nature and it looked like all of the tie-ins were starting to come together as a bunch of their issues started appearing on the same planet of Epiconia in the same area, so you would think they'd start sort of coming together and all our heroes was kind of, Avengers Assemble sort of thing and just come together in that final issue of Dark Droids, but it just never happened. That being said, I do like what Soule did here with the heroes being infected, only to be saved by someone half a galaxy away, and as Lando says, they got extremely lucky. There was also something really cool about the idea that these heroes really didn't have any idea of what was exactly going on, and it was only a select few like Ajax Sigma and D-Squad who kind of knew the extent of what was happening, and they were kind of just stumbling their way into this event, though in that being said, it does also make them look a little bit silly, like they didn't try and investigate any of this really at all. The whole idea of it being based on luck though is really quite interesting, especially because Soule has made Lando the focus not just of this Dark Droids arc, but he was doing it also before, really focusing in on the character and his relationship with the rebels and Lobot and how different he is to the Lando he thought he was, and that's a big driving force behind the character throughout this arc, about him wanting to be that different Lando and the Lando that people can rely on, not the Lando who is carefree and just relies on luck to get him out of every situation. With the Scourge defeated, Lando still needs to fix Lobot and tries to force the Talkie to do it, only to be discovered by Leia and Luke. This is a great sequence as it's all just characters talking and explaining the situation, but Soule's writing coupled with Madabak's art make it just totally engrossing and tense. Lando eventually comes clean with what he did with the Talkie and how he sold it to get out of some debts with Jabba, and the droid helps Lobot, keeping his word, but Lando has now lost all trust from Luke, Leia and the Rebellion, and thus is arrested at the end of the issue and set to stand trial for his crimes, with the penalty being death. This was quite the surprising cliffhanger, being we know by Return of the Jedi, and which is quickly approaching, he is a rebel general, so I'm really intrigued to see how he goes from a rebel prisoner, someone the rebels don't trust at all, to a general. Of course, Soule is going to explore that, I guess, in the final pages of this series before we transition into a series either beyond Return of the Jedi or something, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets there, since I can't imagine there's many issues of this series left and there's still a little bit of ground to cover, especially because the Bounty Hunters book is also tying into the search for Han Solo as well. And the next story of this book seems to be transitioning into Lando going through like a court procedural, which is a really cool thing since it's something we've never really seen in Star Wars, so I'm intrigued to see how like a legal system in the Rebellion works. But whatever Soule does, I'm going to be there to read it because he's done a fantastic job on this series overall and he always makes Star Wars really exciting. Charles Soule finished up his own tie-in to his event much like the other tie-ins, in a rather quick fashion, although everything was nicely packed up and concise, and Lando's continued character development continues to be a huge draw to this book for me. I've loved everything Soule has been doing with the Scoundrel, and I'm looking forward to how he's going to resolve this real interesting predicament that he has put Lando Calrissian in. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.